Hi everyone, my name is Bethlehem Tishomi. I took a class about the brain over the summer and I was hoping I could discuss with you a couple of the cool topics we learned, specifically the scientific study of drugs, known as pharmacology. So, pharmacology, it dives into the science behind how drugs are created, composed, and the way they affect our bodies. The amount of the drug that's consumed can ultimately change how the drug affects us and how we feel. Pharmacon is the Greek root of the word pharmacology, and I think it's actually pretty cool because its definition quite literally means medicine and poison, which makes sense because medicine can be poisonous in based off the dose. So yeah, later we'll talk about certain psychoactive drugs that affect our consciousness, our perception, and other mental experiences. Some psychoactive drugs commonly known are caffeine and nicotine. These are drugs that cross the blood-brain barrier. The blood-brain barrier is a barrier of tightly joined blood vessels. It's a structure our brains naturally use to make sure we have enough nutrients in the brain and protects us from toxins that can cause infections. I think the most insane thing I learned over this class is that some of the most poisonous substances can actually be found in waters that humans visit daily. So in fresh waters and subtropical waters, and specifically the deep seas of Japan or southern Australia. So salamanders in fresh water, pufferfish living in subtropical waters, and blue-eyed octopus that live in the seas of Japan and southern Australia. These creatures, they hold a lethal poison called tetrodotoxin, and when that poison is released in the victim, it blocks our cells from communicating certain processes that our brain naturally does on autopilot. Our sensory signals will be off in the brain and muscles, and then that'll cause us to feel numb. Being that this is one of the most lethal venoms, it's crucial that it's pumped out of the stomach within the 24 hours. Charcoal can actually be used in this case to help a victim that's been affected by tetrodotoxin. Consuming charcoal will allow the toxin to bind to it. It sticks to the charcoal, and then it makes the removal process of the toxin a lot easier. Worst case scenarios with this toxin involve paralysis, suffocation, and death. Keeping up with the theme of being found naturally, plants naturally found in earth can also produce effects that cross that blood-brain barrier, like in the Atropa belladonna plants that have atropine, or areca nuts found in the seeds of the Areca catechu palm tree, used widely for mental stimulation and relaxation. Atropine can be used in eye exams to dilate the pupils or reduce eye swelling and inflammation. Atropine can also be used to help people with digestive issues like spastic colon or diarrhea. In larger doses, a larger effect will happen. So larger doses of atropine can cause hallucinations, disorientation, confusion, or amnesia. Chamomile, found in the Camellia sinensis plant, or cannabis commonly known as THC, are also examples of plants that cross the blood-brain barrier. They affect our physiological function. Chamomile, which often comes in the form of teas, can help us create a sedative or sleep-inducing effect. It's great before bed. Cannabis also creates a sedative effect as well after crossing that blood-brain barrier. And if I didn't stress dosage enough, I'm hoping I'm stressing it enough now. So the severity of the effect of the drug will be determined by how much is taken. Psychoactive drugs range from caffeine to cocaine, nicotine, and alcohol. They're all drugs that cross that blood-brain barrier. When the brain gets hit with caffeine, it blocks the adenosine receptors. And we know adenosine receptors are actually signals that are responsible for making us sleepy, drowsy. Caffeine does a really good job of blocking those receptors and actually makes us feel more alert, more awake. So good before a large, meeting or a massive test, you're about to take. The effects of cocaine are felt when cocaine blocks the communication of a dopamine signal from completing. So that's a scientific way of saying dopamine gives us a really, really good feeling, and chemically, cocaine blocks that feeling from leaving, and it increases the concentration of dopamine in the brain. Alcohol, once crossing the blood-brain barrier, can enhance one's mood, but in larger doses, alcohol can also affect us in ways we don't want. Alcohol poisoning can cause someone to suffocate, slip into a coma, or unfortunately pass away. Nicotine, found in the tobacco plant, is a drug that crosses the blood-brain barrier within 10 to 20 seconds after it's been inhaled. In smaller amounts, nicotine works as a stimulant or it aids in anti-anxiety, but in larger amounts, nicotine works to, it shifts from being a stimulant to a sedative. And yeah, that was the conversation on psychoactive drugs. I hope this topic of drugs was engaging or interesting to, you can have a fun fact to share. I hope it's easily as digestible as the professor lectured to us over a really cool class. So yeah, hope you learned something new. Take care.